our space probably about a year ago. And whenever she's ready, just give me a thumbs up. But so, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michele Heyward, founder of the tech company Positive Hire. Positive Hire is recruiting experienced women of color STEM professionals, and that's science, technology, engineering, and math. So a bit about me. I actually have a BS degree in civil engineering, a master's degree in industrial management. I worked in tech transfer, I've done technical sales, and spent a vast part of my career as a construction engineer, construction management, and project management in the energy sector. I'd be an amazing hire, don't you think? Wouldn't you hire me, right? Wrong. The vast majority of women of color are leaving corporate America. Employers, for some of them, about 20 of them specifically, have been studying why we're leaving, and they haven't been able to solve this problem. So Positive Hire strictly focuses on women of color. And if you look at what is going on in small niches, specifically in STEM, where you're going to see smaller numbers, but you also see a higher turnover of women leaving that industry. But we also focus solely on management roles. In over, I'd say almost 2 decades, I've never ever had a manager who's been a woman of color. Not Asian, not Indian, not indigenous, African American, nothing in 20 years, and worked for various companies throughout the U.S. So how does it work? You can create an account whether you're an employer or a woman of color professional. You go in, you set up a profile, and then it permits employers to go through and find you for roles that they have available. Now, as a professional, you can go through as well and look at what's available. But employers can go through and see what you're saying about them. So we do twofold. We permit employers to post jobs, but we also permit the women of color to tell their stories about their experiences in corporate America, because there's something that's called intersectionality. Your gender and your race can play a huge factor in where you go in your corporate career. So what we try to do is help women of color find an inclusive workplace by crowdsourcing their experiences in corporate America. So you'll know whether 1 to 5 before you get married, whether or not it's a good place, whether it's from 5 to 10 years in your career as you're trying to get in management, whether it's not a good place for you to be in your career. So how do we make money? We make money by charging employers to post their job with us. So we have a 3-tier type subscription program wherein you as an employer are paying us every month depending on how many jobs you have posted. If you have one job posting, you pay one subscription price. If you have 2 to 5 jobs, you pay a different subscription price. And then if you have more than 5, well, come talk to me. We'll give you a specific price depending on what you're looking for. We also offer a very special option, which is called blind recruiting. You send us your job posting because you don't want it posted on our job board. So we'll go through and send you up to 3 women of color who match that particular job description for you. And that is at a premium cost. So looking at our competitors, we have Comparably, which does collect data. We have JobWell, which does focus on workplace culture and diversity hires. We have Glassdoor, which we all probably know and love, because it tells us what it could be like to work for an employer. And then we have Fairy Godboss, which is fairly new to the marketplace, and they focus on women in corporate America as well. What's different about Positive Hire, among all of these, we only focus on women of color, but we also capture workplace inclusive data as it relates to women of color specifically. So what I'm looking for today, I would like an introduction to a company or a government entity which would be interested in piloting Positive Hire. They want to be able to bring in candidates to interview for their management roles, and that can be middle management, that can be into their executive level opportunities within their organization. If you know of anybody, or if you're that person, it'd be great to talk to you. I have some business cards as well as some other information you can take with you. Thank you. Questions? I'm gonna go back there first.
As you know, as your model builds, do you see expanding out of just the women of color model, or are you focused?
I see expanding out of just STEM, not out of women of color.
Okay.
Yes.
How many candidates do you currently have? Go ahead.
No, good. So the candidates, I have a few hundred in the database right now. So it just depends on what you're looking for, whether or not the network may have somebody, or I would already have them in the database. Yes.
Where do you get the candidates? How do they find you?
I find them. So what is always interesting whenever I'm talking to people, specifically in tech, they say they have a very difficult time finding people, and I can pick up my phone. Well, we as women of color, when we see each other, we see each other. So you generally call who you know. So white men, they will call a white male. As a woman of color, I'm calling my friend Jan. I'm calling who's an electrical engineer. She works at Savannah River. She worked at Duke Energy. She worked at American Electric Power in nuclear. So if that's what you're looking for, I generally probably already know them at some level within my network, and not directly one level over.
You're leveraging your
My network, yes. Yes, Dan.
So, how would say a small startup like myself, and when we post for like a number of different, I guess, roles, is there some that like will cross over, like have some that are engineers but also have experience in X, Y, or Z? And is there a way to like search for that?
There would not be a way, well, I can't say there's not a way. So depending on what keywords you're looking for and what keywords they have they put in their profile, whether or not it picked up. But you also can tell us as the employer what level, like they have to have this or be in this industry. This is really nice if they've done sales, but they're an engineer. I don't really want them to talk to people.
Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, good.
Two questions. Are you here local or like Greenwood, or where are you at?
Oh, and I went to Clemson, so I've had that number for years.
Gotcha.
So I've lived in many states, but I've always kept that number. So local.
Would some of your people also be maybe like technical sales people? Would you staff for that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would do technical sales. Yeah, if you're looking for somebody with a technical background, whether it's science, chemistry, physics, as well as engineers, that I've done tech sales. So my entire team was nothing but engineers, unfortunately.
Hey, don't knock engineers. We do have value.
Oh, I'm an engineer. I talk trash about us all the time. Like, dude, just tell
You go,
me.
girl.
Yes, because I worked with the engineers that did the design, and then I worked with the engineering operators who operated bulldozers. So I can't explain it to them that way. I'll get it done. So trust me. No, and then I get to you, Eric.
As far as sourcing of candidates, do you have any veteran outreach or active duty military outreach?
Actually, no. So, but I do have candidates, especially in cyber, who worked in cyber, that I do have relationships with personally, and they've been giving me some direction on which way to go if I do go the veteran route.
Is there a size company that becomes an ideal candidate for you, or can you work with anyone from small to large?
So generally, we look at Fortune 500 companies. Generally, they have the data, they have the ability to grow in a career, and they sometimes will be able to harness and give a better culture fit depending on their offices and location. So that's why we generally go larger.
Can you work with smaller companies?
I can if they can afford the fee.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, so generally it's cheaper for them to go to a job board and pay a lower fee or use their network to find people. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so so you're collecting these experiences from these women who went in and out of the industry. Are you applying that knowledge that you learned from it to the companies themselves and how you vet the companies that you are listed on the site? And also, are you using that information to kind of teach and educate those companies on things that they can do better?
Okay, great question. So two things. So collecting the data, we'll be using machine learning. So machine learning, they can tell a woman of color which company is a good fit. It's not just going to rely on them reading. At some point, we'll have enough data to give that information. So for the employers, what we'll do for them, if they want to know what women of color are saying about them specifically, they can buy that report from us. Number two, it helps them decide or find out where they're going, where they're doing well, and where they need to make some changes. And sometimes it may not, we always hear Facebook in the news, right? Facebook's a horrible place to work, it's not very diverse. But what you can find out, and what I found out talking to different people, being in different social media platforms, the Valley is very different culturally than New York. An engineer or a diverse employee out of New York said, I had a great time working for Facebook in New York. If you talk to those in the Valley, they can tell you horror stories over horror story over horror story. So it helps the employer because they can now tell a different story because they can see differently what's going on there, different locations, independently of them taking in that data. Did I answer your question?
For your custom blind pricing model, does that work more like kind of traditional headhunting
Yes.
firm where y'all will you only look within people who who have submitted their resume, or will you all leverage your network and in each other's LinkedIn accounts and actually find a candidate that hasn't necessarily come to you all?
So we don't do traditional headhunting. So we leverage what we already have internal, which is two different. We work more with headhunters as a partner as opposed to a competitor. So headhunters will end up coming and paying us to see who we have available because guess what? They still want their commission, which is higher than what you would pay us. But for us, our money comes through just subscriptions and theirs comes through getting that person hired. So we're more of a partner in that aspect. Any more questions?
I know you said you're focusing on experienced hires, but are you tracking in college the rate of women of color that are majoring in STEM?
So National Science Foundation tracks all those numbers, so you can go to nsf.gov and track that. So they do look at the numbers. Clemson's been really good about tracking their numbers and understanding why it's set up and they track it a certain way. But what it does tell us is that there's a drop-off even once they graduate and get the degree, that 0 to 5 years is key. And then you have another phenomenon that happens at 10 years. And that 10 years is where I'm focused on because very few focus on that area. To me, that 0 to 5 will improve in that more women will stay if they can see themselves where they can be in 10 years. And it's hard to do that when there's nobody that looks like you at that level. So that's why I'm focusing on that area because it's a key part of that 0 to 5 or even when they're switching majors in undergrad.